I don't know how to describe these. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well today. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do my January wrap-up. I read 9 books this month, which is actually really good for me because I usually don't have enough time to read, but I've recently discovered audiobooks that I can listen to in the car on my 20-minute drive to work and my 20-minute drive home, which has really helped. So I'm quite excited about this. First book I read this month is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. It's the first book in the Dark Artifices trilogy, and I wanted to read this because I want to be all caught up for when the next book by her comes out, Chain of Gold. I know it's not part of this series, but I really wanted to have everything done and read and just be on top of things. And it follows Emma and Julian, who are parabatai, which means that they are fighting partners, if you know anything about the Shadowhunter universe. But I don't want to give away any spoilers. This series follows the Blackthorn family. They are a well-known Shadowhunter family, only in the last series, The Mortal Instruments, Julian, who is the second oldest brother, had to kill his father because he was possessed. So this one picks up a couple years after The Mortal Instruments ends. I believe it's like 10 years or so, and Julian and Emma from The Mortal Instruments are now 16, 17 years old, and Emma is still hunting for her parents' murderer. I really enjoyed reading this book. I thought it was very well thought out. The character relationships were really well done. Everybody grows and their character arcs all make sense. I didn't like really the love triangles that are in this book, and I didn't really like the way that they used specific characters, but I don't really want to say anything because I don't want to give away any spoilers for the people who have not read this. But if you enjoyed The Mortal Instruments, I do recommend reading this book. I gave Lady Midnight 4 out of 5 stars because it was just a very enjoyable read. I then went right into Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare, which is book 2 of the Dark Artifices, and I think I enjoyed this one more than the first. The ending destroyed me. I sat in shock for probably about 5 minutes, but I just really enjoyed the character interactions that happened in this book, the relationships that kind of revealed themselves. It all felt very organic, and I just think that the story made sense beginning to end. So another one that I really enjoyed. I gave this guy 4 out of 5 stars. So after Lord of Shadows, I needed a break from the Shadowhunter universe, so I picked up The Last House Guest by Megan Miranda, and this one follows a girl named Avery who is trying to get through the summer after her best friend was found dead at the end of last summer, and the police believe that she jumped off a cliff, but Avery has never really believed that. And as the summer goes on, she starts to find clues and mysteries and hidden messages from Sadie, her best friend, who, it turns out, may not have killed herself. So I didn't see the twist coming, but that being said, when I closed the book and I finished the book, I was just kind of felt with a feeling of why. Like, I didn't feel completed after I finished the book. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I would ever pick it up again. I gave The Last House Guest 3 out of 5 stars just because it didn't feel finished to me when I got to the end of the book. Not where I wanted a sequel, but where I just didn't feel like I was happy with how everything concluded. After I used The Last House Guest to clean my palette, I picked up Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare to finish the Dark Artifices trilogy, and I read this book in one sitting. It's an 800-page book. I just had to know what happened. My favorite part of this book, I have to say, is probably the illustrations that you see in it. They're just so beautiful, and I think that it was such a neat touch. There's only about 3 or 4 throughout the book, but it really just kind of made it for me. I was very excited every time that I would find one. This one still follows Emma and Julian, and instead of fighting the big bad from the first two books, they're now facing off with the Unseelie Court and the Court of Fairies and the gentleman who is in charge of the group called the Cohorts, who wants to end the Cold Peace. So he wants shadow hunters to completely get rid of fairies and downworlders, and that he thinks they're better than everybody else. So this is them just trying to stop that. I was not the biggest fan, unfortunately. For about the full middle half of the book, I could do without. I mean, it's understandable why it's in there, why it's needed. It does have a very important plot point in it, but I just feel like it was unneeded. I did not need that to enjoy the story and to be satisfied with it. I loved the ending. I loved the relationships that came out of this book. It is very LGBTQ friendly, and it made me happy to read how everybody ended up and how it finished, and just to have everybody kind of even out. There are some cliffhangers that are left in this book, which Cassandra Clare is writing an offshoot of this, but it's not going to be for a couple years. So I will just have to let this get me through until then. I did give it 3 out of 5 stars because it was definitely my least favorite of the trilogy, but still a satisfying ending. The next book I read this month, I kind of picked up on a whim because I'd heard some people saying good things about it, and I have to say this is probably my favorite book. I listened to it on Audible, and then I picked up the physical copy and read it all over again. That is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and it follows Alex, who is the first son of the President of the United States. His mother is the President, and then he meets Henry, who he started to hate, but because of a very unfortunate cake incident, he now has to spend time with, and Henry is the Prince of Wales. So after a while they fall in love, and it is the most adorable romance story I have read in a very long time. I love these characters. They're so witty and they're so exciting, and they love each other so much. And the support system that Alex has with his sister June and best friend Nora and his parents just make me feel so happy. And it has a happy ending, but it does take some time to get there, so they do go through some stuff. And I have no complaints about this book. I have read it so many times. I've tabbed the heck out of it. It is fantastic. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I've recommended it to everybody I have talked to since reading it, and I just recommend you pick it up because it was fantastic and I loved it so much. The next book I read this month is called The Music of What Happens, and I listened to this as an audiobook. It follows Max and Jordan, and Max is the kind of athletic, preppy baseball guy, and Jordan is the emo, weird, goth guy, and out of circumstances that happen, they end up working on a food truck for the summer together, and it's just the two of them. And over the summer, they really get to know each other. They go through all these really awkward things. I enjoyed the story. I thought that the characters were really neat, the main characters. The background characters, side characters, like the best friends and the parents, I couldn't get behind. They didn't feel very completed to me, and I didn't like a lot of the issues that they would bring. Like, it just felt unneeded. A lot of it felt unneeded in the story. If it was just focused on Max, Jordan, and a couple other characters, it would have been fine. There was a lot of unnecessary characters in the story. At the end of the book, it ends. It just ends. And they're happy together, but they're not happy in their life. Nothing's been resolved other than the fact that they are now together. And I really felt frustrated by that because I wanted to see not a happy ending for these characters, but a conclusion on the problems that they were working through during the story. There was no conclusion. They just ended it together. So for that reason, I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. I don't think I would recommend this book. I enjoyed maybe about half of it, and the rest just kind of felt unnecessary. After that somewhat disappointing audiobook, the next book I picked up was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, mainly because The Queen of Nothing just came out and I had yet to read any of these books, so I really wanted to start out the series. I've heard fantastic things about it, and I gave this guy 4 to 5 stars. I enjoyed the premise of it a lot. I think the fact that Jude was taken to Fairy by the guy who murdered her parents and now has to live there, and she's mortal, so it's very awkward for her, and a lot of the fair folk are tricksters and stuff like that, and they don't quite like the mortals being in Fairy. I enjoyed that. I thought Cardan, the protagonist, or antagonist, sorry, Cardan the antagonist was a very interesting character, very rounded, and I'm sure there's a lot that we are going to find out about this guy in the next book. I haven't gotten there, but I felt like it got started really slow. I think I was at chapter 10 and I actually thought about DNFing this book, and I was like, no, I'm gonna keep going, see what happens. And I'm glad I did, because the ending was fantastic. I loved how it wrapped up. I loved the twist. I did not see it coming, and it left me very excited to pick up the next book. I'm just kind of sad about the beginning. I wish the beginning was a little bit better and a little bit more, not thought out, but fleshed out, and maybe everything that happened in the beginning will come back and make sense in the next books. I just really don't know as of right now. But fantastic series so far. If you like cruel people, nobody has any redeeming characteristics. They're all horrible, but it was very interesting to read about, and I enjoyed it. I finally picked up Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and I don't know why it took me so long to pick this up. Selena is an assassin who has been put in a mining camp because she's been caught, and she's been there for about a year when she gets pulled out by the Crown Prince to fight in a tournament to be the King's champion. And the king is currently taking over the entire kind of countryside community because he doesn't like magic. Magic scares him, so he's wiping magic out of everything. And Selena doesn't believe in that, but she will do almost anything for her freedom. And as the story goes on, she makes friends in the castle during this championship. She also finds a dark and mysterious force that is killing people in the castle, and why did I wait so long to read this book? I love all the characters. They're well-rounded. They all make sense. I feel like every character did something that made sense. Nobody did anything where I was like, that doesn't fit with their character, and why would they do that? Everything was just so perfect, and the ending was satisfying. Not a conclusion, but it was satisfying, and I'm waiting very impatiently for the library to get the next book, and this is definitely going to be one that I will have to purchase and reread and reread and reread. The last book I read this month is kind of a contemporary young adult romance. I picked it up because I was sick for a couple days, and after getting over my sickness, I just really wanted to not think too much. And so I picked up The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody, and it follows Rin, who is stuck in a Denver airport on New Year's Eve, and there's a snowstorm. She's stuck in there, and she meets a boy named Xander. Now Xander just wants her to have fun and hang out with him. He's hiding a secret, and she's hiding a secret, and her secret is that last year on New Year's Day, her best friend Lottie was killed in a car accident, and she's never gotten over it. She's never grieved for her. and she just doesn't know how to be around people anymore. She feels guilty because she was supposed to be in that car, but she had food poisoning and decided not to go to the mall with Lottie that day. So this book follows Rin and Xander as they navigate an airport full of really interesting characters on New Year's Eve, with Xander hiding his secret and Rin just not being able to function with it being so close to the anniversary of her best friend's death. I read it in one sitting. It's not a very big book. It's about 300 pages, and it finished with me feeling very warm and fuzzy inside. I wasn't wanting for anything at the end. I think it ended at a perfect spot. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and if anybody's looking for just a quick contemporary romance, something to make you feel good, cry, laugh, and just enjoy, I'd recommend this one. That's it for my January wrap-up. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you have any book recommendations, please let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day. Bye!